Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show, appearing on a Friday night. That can only mean that something special and unique and fantastic is happening in the world of professional wrestling. A pay-per-view! And if it's on a Friday that we're doing the prediction show, then it means that the pay-per-view is on a Saturday, right? Right? You guys know that because you follow me religiously with high amounts of diligence. You know how these routines go. So that means that if it's a pay-per-view on a Saturday, then it's a very good chance that it's an AEW pay-per-view that we're going to be talking about. And you'd be right, because it's Full Gear 2020 happening on Saturday evening, November 11. My brain that always wants to smush words together. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. And when I say we, I don't mean that like in a egotistical third person motif. No. I mean we as in me being joined by my guest, Jeff Hawkins, Fightful contributor and also host of Shake Them Ropes over on the Voices of Wrestling Network. How are you doing?
I'm special, unique, and fantastic as well.
That you are undoubtedly the most bubbly person I know.
Oh yeah, when people think Hawkins, they go bubbly. Yeah, that's him.
That's from point A to point B.
I'm excited to talk AEW, which I only get to talk a little bit about on Shake Them Ropes occasionally because we're mostly WWE centric, but we try and cover AEW a little bit. But there's an AEW show.
Oh, Jeff, did we lose you? Did we lose Jeff? We did lose Jeff. Hang on. He'll be back in a second. We're going to do the reconnection thing. Hang on there, everyone. We lost our boy Jeff here. Just as he was plugging his stuff, we'll give him the time to properly plug everything, right? We'll just call him back. Just give me a quick second here. We'll do that. Otherwise, in the meantime, hey, I want to thank everyone who's already here joining us live here on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes, who's joining us live here on the Friday evening for the big show. We've got a packed house, per usual, right? We've got Tim Traver, who's in the house. Good to see you, Tim. DGMC is here as well. Hello, and William Davis as well. Nice to see everyone here. Thomas Goris is here as well. Who else we got? We got Anakin JMT as well. Mags, who is going to be joining me. In the morning, early morning tomorrow morning, because we're going to be doing a New Japan Power Struggle post show, but I'll talk about that in a bit. Kristen Ashley is here as well, First Lady of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. Good to see you. Donald Gold is here as well, and there we go. And Wrestling Plug is here as well. Aaron Entertainment, and we're having trouble reconnecting with Jeff. Let's see what's going on here. Let's give it another shot. I do appreciate the still frame upon which everything sort of ended there. It's very, very Jeff-like. I'm getting no answers. Hopefully the state of California didn't lose its internet because of certain political choices they made. Let me just give him a quick message here. There we go. We'll fix it. We'll just fix it. Yes, as you can all tell, Jeff is very happy to be here, as you can tell. But it's been a while since I had a chance to chat with Jeff, so I thought the opportunity was perfect here. Because as he was saying, I know that in his on his podcast on Shake Them Ropes, they don't necessarily talk all that much about AEW. I know. I mean, he's got opinions. He's got stuff to talk about. So I'm excited to be able to chat with him if we can ever get back in touch, right? We're still trying, but it's like everything is dead on his end. It's very strange. All right, says he just wrote me. He said, "Oh, they had a power surge." Ah, there we go. We should get him back now. They have those in California, I've been told.
You know, I work on the internet at home all week. No issues. No issues with anything. And then all of a sudden I'd start talking wrestling. Power spikes. Yeah. Galore that just shut everything off. I apologize for that.
That's okay. That's okay. And when I could tell that something was wrong when you weren't picking up, because God forbid you wouldn't pick up for me, Jeff.
I got so mad at that intro that I said the hell with this. But I'm not doing it anymore.
And I mean, it was kind of sad because you were actually starting to plug your stuff, and now go right ahead. What are you all about, Jeff Hawkins? Why should we listen to you and your wrestling opinions?
Well, it was one of those things where on Shake Them Rose, we're mostly WWE centric, but because there's an AEW show on the network, but we occasionally get to delve in it because Shake Them Rose is mostly a me show. And there's no other way. But if something interests me, we'll talk PWG, we'll talk New Japan occasionally. Sure. But we never really get to go hardcore details into AEW, and I'm kind of interested in doing that because there's a lot I like, and there's a lot that I feel is missing in AEW. And I'm very interested to preview this pay-per-view because I don't know about you. I thought the last pay-per-view was kind of a disappointment.
I didn't think All Out was all that great. However, I will say that I'm very excited for the card for Full Gear, much more than I was with All Out. That's definitely that's the truth on my end. But yeah, we are going to get into it. We're going to start talking about stuff and doing the build-ups. And folks, I mean, while you were gone, I did my little spiel where I thank the live viewers who are joining us on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. So I got all of that out of the way, and they've been leaving some super chats, Jeff, as things have already started. For instance, Anakin JMT left us one. Thank you very much, Anakin. And he says, note, Warren is still sus, as in suspicious. Also, Jeff, play Among Us. Have you heard of this game? This game sensation, Among Us?
Yeah, I have. The problem is I'm still way too much into Fall Guys still.
You like playing with the 10-year-olds, Jeff?
I do, because it's simple and I can in my old age I can hang with them. I've also developed a rather weird addiction to Rocket League of late, which is a stupid game, but I love it.
But it's so much fun. It's really fun.
It's easy to pick it up, play it for 5 minutes, and then put it down. I like the concept of Among Us. I just haven't had a lot of time to play games between work and everything.
Well, Anakin is pushing hard. He left us another super chat. He says, Warren killed Jeff. He is sus. Sus is short for suspicious.
Yeah.
It's in the lingo. But yeah, we'll try and get you. We'll try and get you on to appease the masses at some point, Jeff. Joe Cook left us a super chat as well. Thank you very much, Joe. He says, hey, Warren, I hope you've been well. I have. Thank you. I've been away for a while. Excited to get back into this weekend with Full Gear. And it's good to see you back, Joe. It has been a while. Good to see you, friend. And Kristen Ashley left us a super chat. Thank you very much, darling. I'll buy you a coffee tomorrow. Says, glad to see Jeff and Warren reunited. Now add Alex for the next show. That'd be something.
Alex is too busy spending his big checks from Sour Graps to come here. Thus plebes basically
rolling in all that
stealing
my
gimmick. No, he does a great show. That'd be great.
That would be fun. So before we actually start talking about the card in and about itself and breaking down the matches and their own individual builds, I always like to start off by talking about how we felt about the buildup of, how in general, how we felt how we felt the pay-per-view was built. And
actually, Warren, I'm going to cut you off. I'm going to go one step further. This is basically the 1 year anniversary, 1 year plus of AEW.
Correct.
Give a report card on your basic overall thoughts of the promotion.
Jesus Christ, my show's been hijacked. I would say, like, overall for the first year, I would give it a B plus.
Oh, okay.
I'd give it a B plus. I think there were substantially more highs than lows, right? But I think there are some lows that still need to be fixed. It's anyone who listens to what I do knows how I feel about the women's division, and that for me is a huge sticking point. And I do recall like November, December 2019 to not have been particularly shining for AEW, but they dusted themselves off fantastically in 2020. COVID hits everyone pretty hard, but I think they did a really good job overall, but I still think there's some sticking points. What about you, Jeff?
I am in that B minus, C plus, maybe even B a little bit. Okay. Maybe I'm being a little bit too hard at times. I think I agree with the women's division has been bad. For me personally, there's way too much comedy. Okay. Way too much for this. I think the matches are fine. The matches are great. Sometimes they're a little jam bandy. Sometimes they go a little bit too long because everybody wants to do their thing. It feels very much like kind of a little anti-WWE in that nobody says no to anything. Right. In terms of ideas. Right. And I think there's a little bit too much derivativeness of WWE as well. Some of the stuff I really love. And it'll happen on this card, but some of the stuff, their biggest plus to me right now is they know when to give up on something that's not working. And I think that's important in wrestling. That's a huge thing.
That's the thing that I think is the most redeeming quality that AEW has. It's self-awareness overall.
But that's also its biggest negative.
And it's also, I was going to say, it's also its biggest negative. And there's some places where it's like, it doesn't seem that they're applying that self-awareness at all. Right. But yes, I agree. Because honestly, I remember before the Christmas break, the shows weren't really good. And we come back in January with those January shows that they had. Then they went on the Jericho Cruise and they were fantastic. And everyone was like, okay, clearly Tony Khan sat everyone down around a table and was like, okay, we got to reset because, clearly there were some production meetings that were done and they were able to dust themselves off and gave us some fantastic months of wrestling moving forward, right into March, right up until COVID struck, really.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of that. There was a lot of the getting away from foreign promotions and interactions with them, especially with the Chinese act. Was it OVE?
Yeah.
Originally. And Shima and company. And then also for the women as well. And that's partially COVID, I get. But there was a big, it seemed to me, in terms of approach, there was a difference between how they were doing the approach with the athletic women and the Joshi women. And it was kind of conflicting at times to me. And I think they finally got that straightened out. For me, one of the big pluses was they knew that the Dr. Luther, Brandy, Kong stable that they were starting to, that storyline was a non-plus. That was bad. So they got rid of that. They have bailed on things. They have retouched things. They have done things with the Dark Order that have made them more interesting, although they've kind of, to me, through they're getting a little bit too, you got to watch Being the Elite to understand the wrestling now. And I don't care for that, but overall there are a lot of positives here. The negatives we'll be discussing as we get into this card, I think a little bit more.
I agree. And it's like, the BTE stuff, it's like I like to say, I don't tell me that my enjoyment of Star Wars has to include reading the expanded universe. Yeah. Kind of thing.
That's exact. It's like, what is it? When Donnie Darko came out. Well, to understand the movie, you got to go to the website and read all that. I'm like, I'm not going to do that because I thought the movie sucked.
See, clearly you didn't go to the website, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, and you mentioned it as well. Leading up to this, I didn't think All Out was all that great. Then again, AEW has been putting on extremely solid shows. So, I think even in a misstep, we're a far cry from saying that All Out was a bad show. It was hindered by unfortunate situations. Perhaps at the same time, there were some very strong matches, but others that in execution ended up being a little strange. Let's put it that way. So I feel they've done a good job building a card where you get excited. I think there's a match for everyone here. There's a lot to be excited about, but the build sometimes, Jeff, I don't know. It's been a little kooky in some circumstances.
I think there's only been two really strong builds, and for my money, that was the Moxley Kingston match, obviously, sure. And I will give credit to Cody Rhodes can still talk you into a building. It's not his dad's charisma, but he has a certain charisma when he wants to do the big moment promo. I call it debate club charisma for some reason. I don't know why that is.
I like that.
And I don't understand why exactly, because he'll start on this narrative, which is kind of like a meandering. It's almost like a WWE promo, and then there'll be a moment where it starts to click, and I start to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize I was into it until he stopped, and I'm like, oh, that was a good promo type of thing. It's sneaky good. It is for me quite a bit.
I agree. Well, let's start talking about the matches, because there's quite a few. It's a stack card. It's pretty good, and we're gonna start with the buy-in, the pre-show one, and this. I mean, for a pre-show match, there is so much to dissect here. NWA World Women's Champion Serena Deeb will be defending her title against Allison Kay. Now, just to make sure, I talked about it last night on Thursday, so if you watched the show last night, I apologize, but I'm still gonna. We still have to break it down this way. We have an AEW signee who is currently the NWA champion, who is going to be defending that title on an AEW show against a talent who is no longer signed with NWA or isn't signed by AEW either. This is wild, Jeff.
It's very wild, but I hope it portends to a working relationship with the AEW and the NWA, which I think can be nothing but a positive. I would love to see Tim Storm. I would love to see Nick Aldis back in AEW occasionally. The NWA has been releasing a lot of talent of late from their contracts because they want to go pursue guaranteed opportunities versus the hopes that NWA can get back up and running a little bit stronger later. And this is interesting because Thunder Rosa's status is a little bit up in the air. She's under contract until 2021, but there's rumors that both AEW and WWE would love to sign her. So you have it now on Serena Deeb, who was on the comeback trail in the Mae Young Classic and then became a trainer with NXT and then got furloughed and is now here as NWA champion with Allison Kay, who is also on the aforementioned NWA show. I think Allison Kay would be a solid gatekeeping talent to put on this AEW roster.
That's a good, that'd be a good role for her. I agree.
I don't see her as being a face that could carry the division necessarily, but that's not a personal thing. It's just one of those things where I'm like, what they're trying to do really is push faces that you've never seen before, and that's their entire thing. So I think this is going to be okay. I don't know how good it's going to be, but I think Serena Deeb has really kind of gotten back into. Let's put it this way: the match with her and Thunder Rosa, they were putting over Serena Deeb as a contender after that match, and that shocked me that commentary would do that. I'd like to see a strong win from Serena Deeb as NWA World Women's Champion if they're going to continue this relationship and build up feuds between the NWA Champion and the AEW Women's Champion.
Yeah, I agree. Lots of stuff you touched on. And folks, by the way, if you're watching live right now, drop in the chat, who do you think is going to win? Deeb retains? K wins? Let us know. But you did touch on quite a few things. To me, the pickup of Serena Deeb was sorely needed in AEW, because I think that they do need someone with her chops to be able to guide the younger talent along. Because I'm pretty sure she wasn't just brought in to wrestle. I'm pretty sure she was brought in to train and mold, help a lot. Because there's a lot of the independent talent that AEW is picking up that are super talented and are great, but have never worked for television, never worked a hard cam, and those are things that need to be taught, which is one of the reasons I think a lot of people at first thought that Chris Statlander was a little sloppy when she started in AEW. It's because, I think she was just thrown out of the indies and onto TV without, probably by just being said, look, the hard cam's over there, and we'll have two guys on either side of the ring here, work for them,
Yeah, we mock WWE for bringing in talent that's been on for veteran talent and saying, oh, they need to go in there and learn how to work the hard cam. But there are times where you need to know how to work the hard cam.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, and you have to at some point.
I don't believe you need to do it for pinfalls every time like WWE does, but I do believe you have to know, okay, where's the camera at when I do this move, so that looks better than if I did it at this angle, so to speak. So I think there is a bit of a learning process there.
I think there is. I think, and I don't think it's negligible. Like you said, it's not necessarily to always be working the hard cam, or working the angles, but you do have to. I think the relationship between where you are versus where the cameras are being positioned, even the mobile camera guys, right? Anyway, so that's one thing. I also think my feelings on the AEW women's division are very, very well documented at this point. So I'm interested to see what they're going to do out of this, and how this will continue to benefit the women's division nonetheless, right? I think a strong showing by Deeb is the most logical outcome here, and a victory because she's signed, because she holds it, because she has a belt, and she has to help create some credibility for the division, which is one of its main problems right now. But outside of that, I think we're going to be entertained by this match. I think Deeb and Kay are going to mesh well. I think this should be a lot of fun. It's just such a left field kind of match.
It's a match on the pre-show, and it's gonna be fine. I don't think a lot of people are going to be seeing it before the card, to be honest with you. So it's an NWA match, so it's kind of cross promotion type thing. It's not really
sure.
We don't know what the deal is going to be in the future with this, because AEW may just decide, hey, we have our women's division. It was nice for you guys to be here, and here's a little bit of a rub. Go build something up, some stars up for us to eventually sign, type of thing.
And I'm with you. If there's something that can be developed with the NWA, that'd be great, because I was really digging Power, because it was so different from everything else. And
then they ran into some issues. So.
There's one or two.
A few.
And then COVID really was the death knell, which really sucks. But
yeah,
I think we're both saying that on our end that Serena Deeb is going to win here. Seems to be the same thing in the chat. Seems pretty academic as far as that one goes. So let's talk about the next match: Orange Cassidy versus John Silver. Two guys who are very, very over with the AEW faithful, for similar yet also different reasons. Well, I mean, we touched on it. We talked about it before coming on the air. Just a smidge in regards to comedy in AEW. And tell me your thoughts on this, Jeff.
John Silver's inability to not corpse in a comedy scene has gotten him over somehow, which is amazing, because for years people have complained about people on Saturday Night Live who have to corpse.
Yep.
Or who don't corpse. I am a big fan of the Beaver. Is it the Beaver Boys or the Beaver Brothers? I can't remember, but when I saw them in PWG, I really liked them a lot, and I was so happy when they started getting a shot here as enhancement talent, and then they became signed talent, and then they became part of the Dark Order, and I liked how they've used them here. This is going to be our first comedy match of the night for the most part, I think. I think Orange Cassidy wins this. I think there's a lot of ha-ha spots, followed by a lot of dives and things like that, followed by a couple more ha-ha spots, followed by a run to the finish.
Oh, there you go. It's producer Jeff Hawkins here. I think Cassidy has to win this match. It's not even a question of he will. I think he has to. This is a guy who's come out of very big programs just over the past couple of months. You know, I would assume that Chris Jericho would not be thrilled having put in a position, being put in a position, wrong choice of words, having worked an extended program with Cassidy, worked hard to get him over as a breaking through a ceiling, let's put it that way, only to have him lose to John Silver, who, God bless him, I enjoy his BTE stuff. I think he's funny, but he's a BTE star at this point. You know, he's not Cody, he's not Paige, he's not Omega. I think we're going to see more of the, like you said, more of the haha Cassidy in this one, as opposed to the Orange Cassidy who was primed and ready to take on Cody for the TNT title, and he was all business and all serious. I think we're going to go back to the hands in pockets and the coffin drops with the and all that stuff. I think that's what we're going to go back to. But I think absolutely Orange Cassidy has to win this, because otherwise they're going to start breaking apart some work that they've put into this boy over the past few months.
Agreed.
I even think it was weird that he lost to Cody, to be frank.
Yeah, but I think the second one is a setup for what my point I'm going to make in the Darby Allin match. So
okay, so we'll save it for then. So we both have Orange Cassidy on this one here. Let's move on. Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara in the Elite Deletion match. Clearly, they've already started posting stuff on the internet, right? Some hype, some hype promos. This is probably already in the can at this point. I'm surprised that they decided to go back to this after what happened. I want to say too many things at once.
I'm not.
Matt Hardy's run in AEW has been cursed. They've tried really, really hard to do this thing with Sammy Guevara, and it just wouldn't happen. Matt gets injured. Guevara is Guevara, and then he gets suspended for a while. Then they try it again. Matt gets injured again. I think they want to give this to both of these guys on as okay, well, we understand that circumstances were in our way to get to this point, but is it the right approach? I'm not convinced. I'm not sure.
I think, look, the end of that match sucked the energy out of that pay-per-view.
Yep.
And they could never recover it. And I think Matt's the type of guy who wants to make up for that, and I'm fine with that. And I think they're going to cover their bases here. I think this is going to be a cinematic match. I think this is going to be like the Hardy compound type things on TNA that you saw. There's going to be a lot of laughs here, but they're also going to fold in, because this was on the Go Home show. They are setting up Sammy Guevara to turn babyface. So he is going to be valiant in defeat in many, many ways. I think we're going to get a few cameos in here. I would fully expect to see the Rock and Roll Express in here at some point, probably. Some other Carolina area legends perhaps as well. I think it'll be everything that people who love these sorts of things like, and it's going to be quality controlled to be good. So I'm fine with this.
It's going to be something that people who like this kind of thing.
If you like cinematic matches, and let me tell you something, the TNA Hardy compound battles were the best of them so far. I'm not saying that as derivative, but I think there is some fatigue because WWE took this trope and made it suck. So I think there might be a little bit of criticism on AEW for doing the same thing, but I think with Matt Hardy involved, I think it's going to be far more creative. So I'm good with it.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about turning Sammy Guevara babyface. Just dipping him in the lake of reincarnation, right? That would be perfect.
That's a possibility. I was trying to think who on the roster they could dip in the lake of reincarnation that's still there, because you don't have Like Abyss is always the one I want to put in there.
Yes,
Joseph Parks come out, but he's with WWE now, so I can't do that. So I was trying to think of someone, and I can't think of anybody that there. Maybe Billy Gunn shows up at some point and becomes like Mr. Ass and becomes DX or something like that, but I don't know.
That would piss off a whole bunch of people on the internet if they did.
Would
that.
it?
Yes,
would
it would. Oh, yes, it would.
I don't think it would.
Oh, yes. Wrestling Plug left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Wrestling Plug. Appreciate it. He says more likely Sting shows up.
There you go. I'll take that.
Right?
I like Sting. I still like Sting.
Sting.
I'm still mad about how they treated him in that WrestleMania match. So if he can come back and do something, I'm good with that.
And wouldn't it'd be the perfect situation if Steve Borden can't wrestle, if he indeed cannot like properly get physical. Cinematic match would be perfect.
Oh yeah, Crow Sting goes into Lake of Reincarnation, comes out of Surfer Sting, comes out of Wolfpack Sting. We got.
Oh God. Okay, now if it doesn't happen,
now you gotta be disappointed.
Now you just worked me into a shoot. Now, good job.
Sorry.
Thank you, Jeff.
Sorry.
DGMC left us a super chat. He says, "Thank you very much." He says, "Sammy emerges from the lake as an Adderall bottle." It was such a good line that MJF laid on him, though. It was, we'll talk about MJF in a bit, though. But it was such a good line. Well, okay. So who do you have here winning, Matt or Sammy? Also, does it even matter?
I think Matt wins and it doesn't matter.
I think Matt wins and it doesn't matter as well. I agree. Like if Matt Hardy, I think the only, as I was going to say, if Matt Hardy is given the control that he had, like in Impact to produce these matches, I think it'll be great. But then I'm thinking like one of the big elements that isn't there and that won't be there is Jeremy Borash, right?
Yeah.
Who was a big part of it. But hey, fingers crossed, they got some creative people over there. All right, let's talk about one of the big ones. Adam Page versus Kenny Omega. It's the finals of the AEW World Championship Eliminator Tournament. One of these guys is going to become the number one contender for the World Championship. We were talking, or you were mentioning at the first that there were a couple of matches who had a very strong build into this. You mentioned Moxley and Kingston. You talked about Cody. I got to tell you, this is one of this is a strong one as well. I mean, this is some long-term storytelling that they've been pulling off here, Jeff. I'm excited for this match.
I'm excited for the match. I don't view the build as being very good.
You didn't care for it?
Didn't care for it because really? Here's why.
Tell me why.
Adam Page is now emo drunk cowboy. We haven't really seen him go through the self-doubt phase at all. He's just kind of been a drunken kind of a wuss, quite frankly. And nobody wants to see that in their wrestlers. Omega's been building into the heel character, but it's a very hammy kind of heel build for him. Like,
are you surprised? You sound surprised.
I'm not surprised, but it's also, look, it's what Kenny Omega would be. And for me, I want to see if Kenny Omega, and this is probably just expectation versus reality, and I'll admit that.
Okay.
But I've wanted to see Kenny Omega be main event heel charisma. And when they brought him in and they said they were going to turn him, I want main event charisma out of him. And instead I've kind of gotten, he's always had these kind of play to the back of the room mannerisms and things like that, where he plays things a little too big, a little too broad for my taste. You know, I think this build is interesting in as far as what's going to happen with Page here, because we know Omega's going heel. We probably think the Bucks are going to be involved somehow in this. Does Page go heel as well with the rest of the Elite? Does he become super good guy after this? And it all depends on what you think the better build for the championship match would be.
Sure.
I think the match is going to be spectacular, but I'm afraid they're going to pepper it with too much. You remember the Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Hell in a Cell monologuing that was going on way too much.
Yep. Too much exposition.
Too much exposition stuff. I'm afraid they're going to do a lot of that in this match.
You think
that's
so?
My fear. Well, that's my concern.
Okay.
If it's just a straight match where these two end up beating the crap out of each other, I'm for it. If it becomes, oh, Adam Page can't finish his friend because they've been through and I'm just gonna ram my head through a wall, I think. I have Page winning this, shockingly enough.
Really?
I think it's the best. I think it's the best move. I think if you're gonna build Page into a star, it's the best move. He overcomes his alcoholism by wrestling, I guess.
Well, you know.
I think it's and then Omega beats the tar out of him after the match, and then that affects Page's championship match after that, and then that establishes that way you can beat Page a little more easy. Omega gets established as an alpha heel, and we go from there.
Oh, that's that's okay. That's an interesting booking vision.
Now
here.
tell me why I'm wrong, Warren Hayes.
Well, hang on a second. I'm not necessarily. I allow myself to be swayed. Because frankly, look, the one thing that you're absolutely right on about is making Adam Page a superstar. They tried that last year, and
yes.
and they pivoted Page into, as you called him, emo alcoholic cowboy.
They were supposed to turn him heel, and they didn't. And then they got lost, and they decided to turn the other guy heel.
Well, I think they tried to turn him heel, but it got over.
Yeah.
So then they went another round, which I really appreciate. And again, this goes to our earlier point where we were talking about AEW at least reads the room, sees what's working, not working. They could have decided to just push white babyface Adam Page down our throats for months.
White meat babyface.
White
not
meat.
White
Did I say?
babyface.
I just said white, right?
You just said white.
I mean,
yes.
It's not entirely false either. You know,
he is Caucasian. Yes.
But yeah. So to that point, you know what? You're probably right. I mean, or at least it's the boldest way to go about it, right? If you want to make sure that he's a superstar, that you don't want to fall back into another year of Adam Page hitting the bar and drinking finger of whiskey upon finger of whiskey. You need to give him something a little more substantial. But I can't help but think that we're at a point where we need a main event level Kenny Omega at the same time. I agree that his energy is a little corny, but the corniness is also, I think, what makes Omega endearing. I think that's part of his overall shtick. He knows he winks a lot at the audience. We know this. He did it in New Japan. We get it. We know this isn't new. And I think that's part of his brand. And I think it's one of the reasons why people relate so easily to him, because they feel like they feel like he's always sharing little tidbits with them that if you're paying attention, you're going to pick up on them, kind of thing, you know? And I'd be okay with them running Mox and Omega again, because that's what they did pretty much a year ago, but in reverse roles, right? With Kenny as the heel, with Mox as the babyface. I'd be okay with that, because I think we'd get another really good match out of it. And quite frankly, it'd make sense to me to see Kenny Omega with a big championship belt around his waist. Because let's not forget another variable here. Jon Moxley, he seems to be Wrestle Kingdom bound in a couple of weeks, right? And he has to show up with the IWGP US title. Does he show up with the AEW World Championship title too? You know, I think there's that dichotomy at the same time where if I'm Tony Khan, I don't necessarily want my world champion to show up on your program with your lesser belt. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. As my phone goes off and I can't reach it right now.
Oh, that's okay. Talk loud, bury it out. That's what I do.
Yeah. No, I'm fine with that. I just think if you're going to do that you'd want some sort of working relationship with AEW. If he shows up with that title, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Moxley's only showing up with the IWGP belt.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I still don't think things are smooth over with the Elite in New Japan.
Okay. No. We'll see.
Give me a sec here. I'm going to go turn my phone off.
That's okay. Go right ahead. And in the meantime, we'll read some super chats as Jeff goes off and handles his logistics. DGMC left us a super chat. Thank you very much, DGMC. He says, Omega has turned into narcissist Lex Luger, and I love it. That's it. It's part of his, that's part of the thing. And I agree, there's something very smug and narcissistic about him, which is a lot of fun.
It's smug. I just don't want like forearm chainsaw Kenny coming back.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. DGMC left us another super chat as well. Says vignettes of Sting teaching Darby how to surf, please. If referring back to that'd be fantastic. And DGMC left us another super chat. Thank you again. DGMC says Mox is shooting the Forbidden Door with a blow dart. There you go. I just want to say hello to Midcard Maniacs and Andrew Ardizzi, who joined us in the chat. Good to see all of you. The AEW Women's Championship will also be defended. I don't know if you heard about this. Blink, you might have missed it. Hikaru Shida, the champion, versus Nyla Rose, accompanied by Vicky Guerrero. Look, Jeff, I'm not impressed.
That was a pensive pause right there, my friend. What are you about to say?
No, God, no, it's just because I have to try. I just have to try to
be diplomatic.
Not necessarily be diplomatic, but rein it in, because I can go off 15 minutes straight on the AEW Women's Division. I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed with how they've been handling their women's division, and especially their champion. We haven't seen Shida on TV for weeks. Suddenly, 2 weeks ago, she's talking with Alex Marvez, who announces to us that, hey, by the way, Nyla Rose has said that she's boycotting wrestling because you're not giving her a title shot. And Shida says, oh, okay, well, I challenge her. And then, boom, we get the match. Then the week after, we get Nyla Rose getting a squash, which was fine. That I'm okay with the heel getting a squash match going into the big match. But then they have a pull apart brawl, and I'm using massive air quotes, and because it was kind of lame. 2 weeks into the pay-per-view, they can't even muster up like full quarter hours for their women or their champion, and they just drop it like a bunch of runny eggs and say, "Here's breakfast, guys." Those are my thoughts.
Okay. There's no depth in this division, and I would even include when they had Statlander there, because none of these women are having their weaknesses protected.
No.
I love Shida as a babyface champion. She should not be cutting interviews or promos. These are storylines that she should be doing a bit. And the problem is she doesn't have a full roster of heels to build her up as a babyface in any way. Mm-hmm. She has Britt Baker, who's kind of on the sidelines now, still kind of, I think, rehabbing the knee a little bit, but, she draws so much focus as a heel that they don't want to put her up against Shida just yet. So you go back to Nyla Rose, Nyla Rose can put on a match here and there. There's nothing wrong with that, but she's just kind of here as a presence still. They haven't given any reasons other than she's around. And they've been doing this a lot with Big Swole. They did it. They've done it. There's just a lot of women here who don't have a lot going on, quite frankly.
No.
And I hate to say this too. I am uber disappointed in how they've used Vicky Guerrero. They member buried her versus brought her in as some sort of presence. It's like, do you remember Vicky Guerrero? You remember how she used to say, "Excuse me," and annoy you? Here she is again. Nothing different about this character. Nothing terribly interesting about this character. No real motive about this character. No real great promo from this character. So this has been lacking quite a bit, and it shows a certain hole in the game of AEW as well, in that all these people that you're pairing with all these managers, for the most part, aren't learning to talk on their own, aren't learning to do anything, don't have much interaction, and the manager seems to be the star of the act for a lot. I love Taz. I think Taz is one of the best talkers in AEW. Unfortunately, I don't think Cage and Ricky Starks are getting too much out of that, other than kind of being part of the stable for now. I think they'd be better interactive and stuff. But to get back to Vicky Guerrero, I would much rather have an existing manager manage Nyla Rose right now. And I think that would make it far more interesting to have an intergender type stable, much like the Dark Order,
Right.
much like the Nightmare Family. If you'd given Nyla Rose to say Tully Blanchard, would that have been an interesting promo for you? Would you have paid money for that? I would have, because I think Tully is probably the number 2 promo in the company right now, unfortunately. You could have used Jake here. You could have used somebody else. But, I like Vicky Guerrero. They just haven't made many interesting choices in this division other than to have people there and then to eventually get them in matches.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's the thing. Something that I like to talk about quite a bit as well is that it's not. Sometimes it's not even a question of having them wrestle. It's creating the personalities so that we can get to know the women and then get attached to them, right? Yeah, you love Pac. I love Pac. That's not a problem. We were happy to. Well, I assume you love Pac because I haven't met anyone who doesn't love Pac.
Okay. I like him a lot.
Oh, there you go. So you like him, I like him. I was excited to see his vignette on Wednesday, right? But they do a vignette for a wrestler who's still in the UK and can't fly over, as far as we know right now. Of course, why are they giving him vignettes when you still have like Penelope Ford, who could definitely benefit from some well-produced vignettes to make us understand why she is a bad girl, for instance.
You mean something else other than hanging out with the video game geeks?
Exactly. For instance, that would be really interesting. And again, as much as and I'm going to contradict myself, as much as I like the build to Adam Page and Kenny Omega, they got 4 segments on Dynamite. They had both of their sit downs. They had the Cinderella thing, which was fantastic. Perfect choice of song. I thought it was great. And they had the run-in at the end of the Private Party Young Bucks match, excuse me. So did we really need 4 separate segments within that one show to build this one feud when you have an entire division that people just don't know about because you're not featuring them anywhere? And don't go featuring Brandy. Brandy's fine. We get Brandy and it's okay. But there's talent, even if you're not necessarily ready to put them into the ring next week. Why isn't Big Swole getting some? Why it's weird to me, Jeff.
They need to learn how to talk, quite frankly, because personality will get you far more over than having a good match. I'll tell you that right now. That's AEW's Achilles heel to me, is that they look, sign Nicole Savoy and have her teach a promo class to the women, because she's a great talker. Mm-hmm. And they brought her in to do this dumb little swole character, and all she was the little swole character, which didn't play to her strengths. Basically, this division, other than Britt Baker, has no personality whatsoever. It has good wrestlers, or at least wrestlers who try hard. And they're trying to kind of make matches with heat about that, but the heat is where the build is, and they don't have any heat in it, other than Nyla Rose being a bully. That's the one story they've had throughout this entire history of AEW. Oh. Nyla Rose is a bully,
and Britt.
And Britt, yes.
And I agree, because I agree. Sheeta for me comes across as a Bret Hart for their,
yes,
that's
a good analogy.
Very good. Technically sound, you don't necessarily want her on the mic, but once it's time to wrestle, like she's
if she has a crowd, she can fire up and the crowd will get behind her. It's the same issue as Riho, mm-hmm. if you brought her back.
Absolutely, that's a very good comparison as well. DGMC left us another super chat. Thank you very much. He says, I think AEW did Hikaru Shida and Thunder Rosa too soon.
I agree. There was no build to that. There was you brought in Thunder Rosa to an audience that didn't know that AEW did not know unless they watched the NWA, and then you had her have a competitive match with Serena Deeb and put over Deeb harder as a promotion, which didn't get Thunder Rosa over much better. We need to pick a winner for this match. I think Nyla Rose gets the title.
I think Nyla Rose wins too. I think so too, and I don't know what the plans are moving forward, but I think that's what's going to happen. But you know what? Here's the thing. I like their match at Double or Nothing that they had, Shida and Rose. I think, okay, just before we move on to the other match, this is one of the hills I'm ready to die on, Jeff, for 2020. I think Nyla Rose is one of the most improved wrestlers of 2020. At this stage last year, I was cringing at the thought of seeing her wrestle, and I think she's picked herself up. She's much tighter, much crisper. Doesn't give me the impression that she's about to hurt anyone. She doesn't flub spots half as much, or 75% as much as she did. Highly impressed with her improvements in 2020.
She's improved. I think a lot of the praise on the improvement is a little bit smoke and mirrors because of garbage wrestling stuff, putting people through tables, jumping. She does that very, very well, I think. But I agree with your basic premise. I think she has improved. I'm not going to overpraise the improvement necessarily, though.
Well, because she did have like hardcore spots. Leading up to in 2019 as well, but they seemed a little soft. And when she did have to pull off some moves,
no, she had she had like some gingerly slams here and there occasionally. Slams.
That's I feel like I should go out and order one.
Gingerly slams are very tasty.
Yeah, exactly. It's happy hour, right? Not the Hawkins.
No, but yeah, there were times where you could tell. She hadn't had a lot of in-ring work, lot of in-ring experience, and she was being very gentle with the people she was in the ring with, and now it looks a little bit more crisp and tighter. I would agree with that, though.
Next match we have is Cody Rhodes. We can use that now.
Yes.
Versus Darby Allin for the TNT Championship. I don't know if you heard, but it is the most sought-after title of the past year. I don't know if you heard about that.
Can I go into history and why this match makes me a little angry? A little angry, not much.
Please do.
Back in the territory days, back when Jeff had hair and dreams and friends, territories would make up a television title. Why? Because you usually didn't get main event matches on television every week.
Sure.
And you could watch a weekly television and get a good match after all the squashes were done. Usually you'd get a 20-minute beat the champ or a 10-minute beat the champ type match.
Sure.
And you could say, hey, my hour just wasn't wasted watching squash matches and promos, which I still love. Then the era of pay-per-view came in, and what happened? They started defending television titles on pay-per-view, which drove me nuts. Yes, it's technically on television, but the whole point of a television title was to be put on free television,
right? So
that people would then come to the house shows. Warren, this is the AEW Television Championship, pretty much.
I agree.
Because it's named after... is this pay-per-view on TNT?
No, it's not.
Then why is the TNT Championship being defended on a pay-per-view? Oh, just being too nitpicky. Okay, fine. Make it the secondary title then. Make it like AEW North American Championship or whatever. But if you're going to make something a TV title, make it a damn TV title and defend it only on TNT. All right? This pisses me off in a small way because I like continuity in my storylines. Now, let me talk about the match now that I'm done ranking on myself.
Go ahead.
Story of this match was established in the second Orange Cassidy Cody match because there's a little scene detail that people forget about that match because the camera didn't catch it properly. Arn Anderson helped Cody Rhodes win that match by knocking out Orange Cassidy, by slugging him. Same thing's going to happen here, and Cody's going full heel as well. Probably to join Omega and the Bucks in some way, I think. Could be to join FTR in some way. I don't know. But I believe Cody's going full heel, or at least we're continuing that story. This is the time for Darby to get screwed out of the title. Maybe he goes to Sting after this. I don't know. And then Darby will win on the next match. I don't know. I'd personally, because I just don't see taking the title off of Cody this soon after him winning it. But it would not shock me if it happened because I think Darby Allin's another guy that they stopped pushing after COVID hit. Because the crowds weren't there to cheer him on. They teased him being a heel for a very short time. Decided that was a bad idea. But I could see Arn Anderson helping Cody win and beat Darby Allin here.
That makes sense to me, and I guess that's what you were talking about when you earlier when you were referencing the your connection with the Dark Order and Orange Cassidy about this match, because we
Yeah.
did get a super chat from Wrestling Plug. Thank you very much. It says more. No, DGMC. Excuse me. Thank you again, DGMC. It says OC and or Darby versus Dark Order after Full Gear. That's
I could see that. Did he remind me? Because I can't remember offhand. Did he dye his hair back blonde?
yes.
Or is he still a brunette?
He's a blonde.
Because I thought there was gonna be a Dark Cody storyline here.
I think
with the Dark Order, but I don't think that's gonna happen now. I think they're just gonna turn him heel with Arn Anderson. Maybe have Arn and Tully join forces again and have that kind of stable type thing.
Sure. The here so in regards in regards to Cody winning, you have the situation here where nonetheless you end up with Darby Allin, who has been in big matches but has never won the big one so far. And
yeah,
I think his record against Cody is like 0-2-1, I say, or 0-3-1, something like that.
It's very Tommy Dreamer in ECW.
Right. No,
where he never beat Raven.
Yes.
All the time.
Right.
I think there's a little bit of that in this. I think eventually what's going to happen is they're going to wait for. I don't know, but there's a bit of a crowd here. That's the thing is they might be waiting for. I thought they might wait for a crowd to give Darby his first title win. Oh man, now I'm rethinking this.
It could. I mean,
I still think Arn tries to help Cody win, but maybe Darby foils that and actually does win. That's what I'm going to go with. Darby Allin wins this, even though Arn tries to cheat.
I mean, I think we're at a point. Just yesterday on the media call, Cody was putting over the fact that they do sports centric storylines, right? Well, if you want to go to with the sports centric storyline here, Cody and Darby have a very well punctuated history within AEW at this point, and the records are there. I like me.
That's blowing smoke.
I know.
They don't do a lot of sports related storylines. Shut up. Continue.
I know. I was just, hey, then he said it himself yesterday.
Yeah, I know. And part of my disappointment in AEW is that Tony Khan said, "Hey, I watched a lot of Mid-South back in the day, and there ain't nothing like Mid-South in this federation."
So the idea of Cody, the idea of Darby pulling off a win here, at some point has to make sense, because it's kind of like, bear with me here, it's kind of like Okada and Omega, but on a much smaller scale, where eventually Omega, after eating all the losses, learned every time and eventually got everything in order so that he had all the knowledge of Kazu to finally win the big one, right? And I think you got to pull the trigger on Darby Allin, because here's another thing, Jeff, is especially if they're returning audiences, no one wants to back a loser. And I don't care how charming or charismatic or how many times they want Steve-O to throw him off of a skateboard
bridge,
ramp, of a bridge in a body bag. At some point, you want your favorites to win, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which is one of my concerns with Jungle Boy, but that's a whole other story as well.
Agreed.
So I think Darby wins this one finally.
Agreed.
Again, DGMC with another super chat. Thank you very much. He says, do you think Sting can do a kickflip? Not anymore.
I don't think he's gonna ollie. I don't think he's gonna do a.
He's gonna grind into the grind into the arena. The tag team championships are also going to be on the line, of course. FTR versus the Young Bucks. I want to hear what you think about all of this shit, Jeff.
Just a garbage build,
right?
I'm gonna say this because this has been the dream match they have been building for years on being the Elite, and then you have the Young Bucks running around like the biggest dicks in the company.
Mm-hmm.
And then you try and give them babyface shine by having FTR break their leg, or do the Pillman eye spot of the ankle or of the knee to cover up for the Matt Jackson injury that's going on right now.
Is he legitimately injured?
Yes, he
Oh,
has
okay.
a thinning of the ACL and a slightly torn
Oh,
MCL
that's not good.
in his knee, which he got when he did the
The
dive off
dive.
onto the table on Butcher and Blade, and the leg of the table came in and whacked him. FTR, look, I love FTR. Love me some FTR. I love Tully Blanchard. Love him to death. He's my favorite wrestler of all time. FTR has been disappointing in some ways. Not in the ring. In the ring, they've been fine. I'm waiting for the killer FTR promo.
Yeah.
That I'm waiting for them to improve on the mic somewhat. Tully's banned from ringside apparently, but I think he probably makes an appearance somehow. I think the stipulation of this match is ridiculous because,
well, it's a hat on a hat on a hat, right?
yes,
That's exactly what it is.
We have this grudge match, and the problem is we have bad versus worse, and we didn't build up worse as legitimately worse compared to the bad. So it's bad guy versus bad guy with no real favorite here. There's not a lot of heat to it because all they've been doing is super kicking for comedy's sake. It doesn't feel like the grudge match with heat that I want it to be. And the stipulation ruins it because I think the Young Bucks have to win this, which takes the title off of FTR. And I think FTR needs the titles more than the Bucks do.
I think FTR need the titles more than the Bucks as well. The thing, sometimes, and we didn't talk about MJF yet, but we'll get there. Sometimes I think AEW's biggest flaw, I think, as we said, is its self-awareness, right? And at when everyone started salivating at the mouth, when FTR were finally on the outs with WWE, all everyone was talking about was the Bucks versus FTR. And you didn't need any artifice. You didn't need anything for this match to be exciting.
You said you're the best team. Yeah, we're here to prove you're not. Boom.
And that's it. We've been, like you said, it's been building on BTE for years, this thing, right? It's been a self-sustaining question amongst fans. That's all you need to do. And right up until this point, I thought that this could main event. I thought this was a main event caliber match. But talking with people online and people who joined the program as well, there's I wouldn't say everyone, but there's a solid base of people who feel like that main event sheen that this match had was taken away because the build was so weird, because the build took everything that could have made it special and focused on the Bucks being dicks to everyone and super kicking officials and Alex Marvez. And why was this? And it had nothing to do with FTR. The Bucks
and FTR had that truck, and the Butcher and the Blade stole their truck. Oh no, what's gonna happen after this? It's such a WWE storyline.
It is.
And that's what they were trying to get away from, and that just instantly took us away. And then, they teased Arn and finally got Tully, and Tully is the voice. I mean, when they're backstage and they give a promo, the guy who's serious is the guy who's not in the ring, unfortunately. and not to say his performance has been perfect either, because I want more managerial histrionics, on close pins. I want him to act more versus just, I'm there for the spot where I have to pull the leg on the rope and that's it out of him.
Yeah.
I want more JJ Dillon out of Tully Blanchard, which is a very unusual thing to say, but it's true. I wanted more heat in promos from these two, and I've been getting the exposition-y type of promos from them,
and a level of smugness that isn't that we didn't expect from them. They're a little more. They should be grittier than.
Yes, yeah. They don't have the edge.
Yeah,
they don't have that gritty Anderson-like edge where we're coming in not only to win but to break your arm or to break your leg, which we were all thinking that they were going to be being a throwback team type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They are there to do pretty choreographed spots like every other tag team, and I don't think people necessarily want that out of the team. I think they want the kick stomp type thing out of them, and to be ass kickers. And they haven't been ass kickers. They've been a good team that does good moves, but they have not been ass kickers. And that's the disconnect for me. And that's where the heat is. The heat is FTR, who stretch guys, no flips, no, just fists, beat a guy, work a body part, break a guy's neck with a spike pile driver, whatever you want to do, are coming in to fight the smoothest, most, high-flying tag team of the past 10 years, the Young Bucks.
The antithesis.
Yes.
The diametrically opposed teams.
Yes.
Yeah, the people who hate the Young Bucks love FTR and vice versa.
The guys who take professional wrestling seriously are here to kill the guys who take it ironically.
Exactly. The guys who are here to, revive the business from those who killed it.
The guys who are here, the guys who are here to wrestle are here to take out the guys who want to be entertaining.
There you go. DGMC left us a super chat again. Thank you very much, DGMC. Very kind and generous of you tonight. Says, Jeff wants Tully to carry a Waffle House menu?
Yes. No. No, that's Arn's job. We know that. No, but I just think like there have been a couple backstage promos with the three of them. And the guy who you gravitate towards, I mean, it was just like the Sean Spears thing after the underwear spot, where it's like, oh, they're never going to be able to save this guy. And then Tully just comes in and is legit pissed.
Yeah.
It feels like, and you're like, oh, this just put an edge on this now. Okay, great. I want the edge, and I'm not getting the edge, and that's the problem.
And I agree. So, okay, clearly, who do you think wins here?
I think the Bucks win. I think they do something dumb and they put the titles on the Bucks. Because I think the more interesting thing is they can never challenge for the World Tag Team titles again, and then you find out a way to do it.
But they already have that with Cody and the world title. I don't want.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
want. I don't want that stip running around willy nilly.
Unless there's some Deus Ex Machina they're gonna pull where everybody can now. Because the heat with Cody turning heel is he's going to immediately challenge probably for the AEW world title when he said he couldn't before and find a legal loophole or whatever and do it.
And we'll be okay with that. That would be fine. That would be absolutely fine. I think the Bucks win, but by DQ. I think, which would be strange because AEW doesn't do DQ finishes, but I think this is an easy out for them.
So you think FTR does something to them and they win by DQ?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I'm thinking that might be the appearance of Tully.
There you go.
Somehow, because remember he was dressed as the ring guy or the cameraman last time. It'll probably be like a popcorn vendor or something this time, and
come in as a member of Retribution. DGMC left us a
hockey
super
man.
Exactly.
They won't be able to see out of. Yeah.
Another question from DGMC who left us another super chat, and I'm gonna toss this one straight to you, Jeff. Could Cornette have saved this build-up?
Yes. That's Cornette might appear on this card. I think there's a chance.
Go on.
I might have painted myself into a corner right then. No, I do think that there is a chance that, hey, nobody else has to talk to this guy. He just has to come in and do the spot and hit a guy with a tennis racket and then leave. And then maybe he never shows up again.
I'm going to tell you.
And then Tully says he hired him to do that because he couldn't be at ringside and I needed someone. And that will get mega heat online. It would. Just a one-time thing where he comes in, doesn't talk to Kenny, doesn't talk to anybody else that he hates, doesn't...
Because here's the thing, is that
he can make money with it.
He's insulted 45% of the roster, right? From Kenny Omega right down to Sonny Kiss. We're not even going to mention Joey Janela because that's a Bible in and about itself. And I'm just saying this, Jeff, because I agree to a certain extent. You put Cornette, you give him a microphone, you let him build a match. He's gonna have you buy a ticket.
As for the question, yes, he could have brought you to the building with his promos about how much because he would have brought the hate that we wanted.
Yes,
because he doesn't like the Bucks.
The problem is that we were talking about NWA earlier. Look at what happens then. This is the baggage that he carries now, and if AEW positions itself as a progressive, again with air quotes, type company that Jim Cornette is the last guy that screams progressiveness in pro wrestling, which is weird because he's he has very liberal political views, but
that's why you don't keep him. you just use him. I mean, that's why I was saying on this one, for the question, yes, he would have built heat. I could see you using him for a one shot where he hits a guy, everybody gets pissed at it, everybody wonders if he's working for them full time, and then it just turns out he was there for a one shot cameo to screw the Bucks so that they can never work again. Which would be Jim Cornette's dream.
It would be. It'd probably be it'd be very satisfying for him. I agree. Yes. Okay. I can almost buy that one. Let's see. Oh, Evan Wright left us a super chat. Thank you very much, Evan. Good to see you as well. About Jim Cornette. He says, you'd have to lock him up in a padded room to keep him away from Kenny and the Bucks. Let's keep him away from Sonny Kiss and others that will kill him.
That's fine. You keep him on a bus the entire time until it's time for him to go, just like every other surprise in professional wrestling these days. I'm good with that.
Is there is there a Wendy's like in the parking lot of Daly's Place?
Because you can get him takeout and turn on the TV on the bus and let him eat his Wendy's and drink his Sprite. Jim, it's time for you to go out and hit a guy with a tennis racket. In, out. Thanks for coming. Here's your paycheck. Good night. That's called doing business, kids.
Oh, of course. Chris Jericho versus MJF. If MJF wins this match, Jeff, he's allowed to join the Inner Circle. Oh, okay.
There's a lot of stipulations on this night, isn't there?
Yes. No, there a lot of unnecessary stipulations. This to a certain degree. So let's say you're the alpha male of a group. Okay, let's say you're the leader of a gang, Jeff.
Like Fightful, yes.
And let's say and let's say you there's this guy who's angling to get into the group. You say, okay, we're gonna fight each other. Are you going to let the guy who beats you, the boss, the alpha male, are you going to let that guy join your group because he's already undermined you as a leader?
If he beats me, then that's a guy I can use. The thing is, it makes no sense because it makes no sense here because it's been a passive aggressive and they've been doing musicals together and there's no real thing to look. We all know what the story here is going to be. It's going to be MJF somehow cheats and beats Chris Jericho, gets into the Inner Circle, and then it becomes like half the improv groups I was in. We'd be a much better group if we could get rid of this weak link. So he gets rid of Sammy. And we'd be much better if, we brought Wardlow in and, replaced Hager with him. Oh, okay. And eventually, you know what? I should really be leader of this gang. Sure. And they get rid of Jericho. Sure. That's what to me, that's where the interest is with MJF kind of playing a bad lieutenant throughout and, for the few weeks and stuff until he eventually reveals himself as, he's the brains behind the operation. And then eventually, proud and powerful go, hey man, this guy should be leading. Yeah. And, and they get behind him. I think this match starts cutesy and then turns into something heated, which is going to be interesting. As I was saying with FTR, I've been very disappointed in MJF in terms of from where he started to where he is now, because I think the campaign thing and then the town hall thing, there's too much
gimmick.
There's too much gimmick in it when he's a guy who you just give him the mic and let him talk. Mm-hmm. And he'd be perfect that way. He was my choice for Tully Blanchard to manage because he has that same charisma. He has the same bratty ass charisma where everybody wants to take a shot at him. Mm-hmm. I would be fine with that. But look, Jericho's losing this. Jericho's getting screwed somehow without knowing it. And so then MJF starts to kill the Inner Circle from within.
And I am in complete agreement with how they've been using MJF. I think it's been too comedy, too gimmicky, like really in the gimmick sense of it. The campaign for the build with Moxley was unnecessary. The town hall and okay, the Broadway number, it was funny, and you know what? There was an undercurrent to it. There was no mistake in choosing My Shadow and Me as the song. You know, there was something there. But MJF last year, when the typical who's the best heel in the business conversation would come up, he'd always be up there. Always be up there. Oftentimes the first choice for a lot of people, alongside the likes of Jay White, and for some other people, Baron Corbin. But like even recently, I had a discussion with some of the patrons and of the MrWarrenHayes show, and we were talking about who is the best heel in the business, and MJF didn't even pop up, and that's weird to me. I don't know why you'd saddle MJF with all this extraneous stuff when just give him a microphone and let him cut the promos that we know he can, and that's your build. Again, your build can be really, really simple. Just let him do his thing. That's why I popped when he gave the Adderall line to Sammy Guevara 2 weeks ago, because I'm like, those are the burns that we like about MJF. Those really savage quips that you're like, oh my God, did he really just say that? Yes, he did. He never did those during the campaign with Mox. He's been very casual with Jericho as well. I'm not into it. I think it's a wasted opportunity to have him be full on heel, because really, frankly, who's a bigger heel than him in AEW? And I'm just asking off the top of my head. I can't think of anyone. Like who?
In terms of, well, he was the best heel for a while until he started that campaign stuff, and then they started to build the Dark Order. Now the Dark Order's a comedy group.
Brody Lee, maybe?
Brody Lee is no longer. I can't consider it that with all the antics about Chili's and stuff. I'm sorry. Anyway. I thought FTR might be getting up there. I think right now Eddie Kingston is your best heel.
I guess so. Yeah, that'd be it. And it's wild. It's just wild to me. Evan Wright left a super chat. Thank you very much. He says Jericho needs to delete Twitter if he's going for a face turn.
I guess he's talking politics.
Well, how? Chris Jericho's not a political guy. Haven't you heard?
I guess. I don't know. I've been off of Twitter the past few days.
Oh, okay. So you missed that. Oh, Jeff, the stories we need to share.
Yes, I know. Everybody got all political and stuff, and I just didn't want to deal with it, quite frankly.
That's fine. So I think MJF wins here as well. I do think I think Jericho gets screwed out of the victory, and that's fine. Main event time. Eddie Kingston is going to be challenging AEW World Champion Jon Moxley in an I Quit match. It was our boy Alex Pulowski a couple of weeks ago on the Wednesday Night Wars podcast who said Eddie Kingston's promo I think 2 or 3 weeks ago for this match is the very definition of selling me a ticket. It's hard to imagine a more simple, old school built feud to get you to buy a pay-per-view than this one.
The healing power of hate is very underrated in professional wrestling. And all you need to do is make people not like each other and make you believe that they don't like each other and talk like they don't like each other and talk like they want to kick each other's asses. And you got them in the building. The two best promos right now in professional wrestling are a guy who wasn't on AEW's roster 2 or 3 months ago and a former punter from the NFL.
Yeah, true. Yep.
And they're the two guys who get it the most.
Yeah.
Despite being surrounded by all these supposedly polished professionals. I'm sorry. If you want to make I'm not trying to bury them. I'm really not. But the simple truism of professional wrestling for the past 45 years has been you make money with your mouth.
Yeah.
And if you can't look, I get that indie wrestling fan, which turned into AEW wrestling fan, loves great matches. They love 5-star matches. Okay. But after a while, AEW every week produces 3.25 to 4.5-star matches on the reg.
Mm-hmm.
How many do you remember offhand? Why?
Because
there's a handful that you remember,
mm-hmm.
but it's quickly becoming, okay, every week we watch guys dive onto a bunch of other guys. It's become that. The things that are going to be memorable in wrestling to you as a fan, if you are a younger fan, are promos that build heat to a heated match. My favorite match ever is Magnum TA and Tully Blanchard.
Sure.
The I Quit match there. It's not a great match. It feels like a fight, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's very heated. The people are screaming. You see two guys who look like they're going after each other for blood. The promos coming out made it very clear that these two people hated each other and that this was the only way to resolve this, is that I need to so thoroughly humiliate you that you will say, I quit. When in there, I need to beat you down to the point. And yeah, it's one of those old I quit matches where you put in the microphone and you hear no kind of thing in it. You know, it's not as clean as WWE I quit matches, but Eddie Kingston has brought that kind of fire to this I quit match, mm-hmm. and it's an I quit match. Saves him from having to be work rate darling Eddie Kingston necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Which he's never been.
Which he's never been.
No.
It plays to his strengths. Mm-hmm. He and Moxley are going to have a brawl, and I'm all here for it. And it's going to probably go all around this arena while he's trying to make him quit. And I'm here for that too. Eddie Kingston talks you into the building.
Yep.
He talks me into the match. He actually feels something, which is the thing that's missing. Because you can tell me, oh, back at Backlash, you attacked me and took my WWE title, blah, blah, blah. If you ain't pissed about it, who cares?
Yep.
You know, Shotzi Blackheart had more emotion over a stupid toy tank this week than half the people who have lost titles in the past 3 weeks. You know,
yeah, I agree.
They waste emotional moments on things. I am here for this. I think Moxley's promos have been fantastic in response.
Absolutely.
Fiery ass kicker. Fine. I'm going to make you pay for bringing up my mom and all these other things. You know, I loved this. This is my favorite build all year, I think, other than Pat McAfee, who is glorious. Everything he does, I want to watch now. Because he brings such a, I get what I'm supposed to be doing out here feel to it, as opposed to, I'm just here to say these stupid lines that they've given me type of thing.
That's one of the things I think that, I mean, you've been familiar with Kingston's work before, so have I. So I already know what kind of hard-on-sleeve individual he was, right? So I'm thrilled that there's a bunch of people who are discovering him through AEW. That's the beauty of wrestling, is that you can always get into a wrestler. You don't have to be there like from the start and be some kind of hipster who's like, oh, I saw him when he wrestled King of Trios and Shakara, and it doesn't matter. I think what's making people jump out of their skin when they see him cut his promos, though, is exactly what you mentioned in regards to WWE, for instance. It's the lack of sincerity, the lack of emotion that WWE takes away from their promos.
Feel something. All you got to do is feel something, man.
And it's the same thing like when we saw the New Day do their split up when they did their final promo together, and everyone's like, "What a fantastic promo! It was so good. It was great. Don't get me wrong, but why are people losing their minds? Well, it's because we're seeing emotion. We're seeing sincerity. We're seeing something that WWE doesn't.
We're not seeing corporate fealty.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I am proud to be an employee in the SmackDown division of WWE Incorporated, and I will. You know, it's like saying you have pride in being in the accounting department of a large company. I check in, I do my work for 8 hours, I go home. I don't have an emotional connection to the people I work for
Hey,
necessarily.
Some people are passionate about equations.
Wrestling, you're supposed to be passionate about the people you work for because usually there's another wrestling thing that people could watch, you know?
Yes.
Ric Flair would come out, I'm very proud to represent the NWA and be their world title holder and blah, blah, blah. All right, cool. I buy that because NWA and WWE were somewhat different and were somewhat competitive with each other and things. Okay, great. Have that kind of pride, but watching, we're watching a Survivor Series build right now where it's just people wearing T-shirts a couple weeks after a draft where we're being told this is the only time of year people intermingle when they've been intermingling for the past 3 weeks or so. Who effing cares? There's no stakes to it. There's no reason to feel, loyalty to man, Raw's run so much better than those people over at SmackDown. No.
We got a couple of super chats here. DGMC.
Sorry to rant.
That's fun. Hey, that's what you're here for. DGMC left us a super chat. Says over under someone getting stabbed with a fork during Mox and Kingston.
Dude, if they do an Abdullah the Butcher cameo, I mean, like, if he's, if you have Greg Valentine from a few weeks ago during the dog collar match, and then like have him in there just kind of staring blankly, and then like down the road, there's Abdullah the Butcher. He takes out a fork and he starts jabbing it in Moxley.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm here for that, man. Hell yeah. And please do it. I'm here for staple guns. I'm here for forks. I'm here for kendo sticks. There's going to be a lot of garbage in this match. Don't get me wrong, but it's going to feel
authentic. It's going to feel
authentic. It's going to feel like Kingston's trying to finish this guy.
And vice
versa. Yeah.
DGMC left another super chat as well. Says, should NXT sign Troy Polamalu to feud with McAfee?
Troy Polamalu, yeah. Well,
I don't know. I don't watch football. Thank you for.
He was a former safety for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I believe he put on one hell of a hit on McAfee at one point because McAfee was that kind of punter who would tackle a guy downfield.
Hey, they brought Tito Ortiz to have one last match with Brock Lesnar.
You know who I want back? I want former running back for the Titans who did that one shot with TNA. That was great.
Oh, shit, I can't remember. Probably someone in the chat will remember.
Yeah, please do. I want to say his last name's Johnson, but I can't remember.
Evan Wright left us a super chat as well. Thank you, Evan. Again, he says
Kingston's Mongo too while we're at it. How about that with Halliburton? Yeah, sure.
Oh, is it Eddie George?
No, it was not Eddie George. No.
D'Angelo Williams.
D'Angelo Williams, thank you.
Thank you, Evan. Let's move on to a super chat then. He says Kingston's thread on Twitter saying that he's doing it for his family, for the 4 pillars, and for Tracy Smothers is great stuff. Hope he wears a Tracy shirt tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised.
I'd much rather he bring a Tracy Smothers shirt than a Confederate flag. Yes.
Just saying. Does Moxley quit or does Kingston quit?
No. Unless they're doing something where they need to get the title off of Mox while he's in Japan, there's no way they're taking the title off of him right now.
I don't think so either. I really think that Moxley's going to drop the title before he goes to Japan. I really do. That's my guess. But not tomorrow. As much as it would be a shock. I mean, if you want wrestling Twitter and media to be talking about your product for the entire 7 days following, that's what you do, right? Because the thought pieces are just going to pour out every day.
Could you imagine making Eddie Kingston the champ when he wasn't even signed with your company 2 months ago, and you've been trying to build all these other guys who were supposedly stars and just flopping at it? That'd be fascinating.
I hope we get a chance to revisit this conversation. I really do. Crossing my fingers, TK. DGMC leaves us another super chat. Says, will Moxley Kingston be more brutal than Moxley Omega? Yes.
Yes.
Evan Wright left us a super chat again. Thank you very much, Evan. He says, his prediction, Mox quits via Rock/Mankind voice recording. Woo! I thought
they were going to do that with Jimmy Uso, to be honest with you, or Jey Uso.
Yeah,
Look, this is going to be like a big budget CZW type of brawl. We might see like real barbed wire out there. You know, we might see scaffolding in some ways. This could be a brutal bloodbath.
One thing we did forget to predict: how long is it going to take before Cody blades in his match? I say 6 minutes.
6 minutes is strong, depending on how much time they have. If they're behind, is obviously a thing. Sorry, it's true. You know it's true. I'll go with 10. I'll go with the solid 10.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. So so it's a 20-minute match then. All right.
Yes.
Okay. Jeff, that's Full Gear. I think there's going to be a lot of good out of this. Any final thoughts on the card?
I'm looking forward to the card. Don't get my snark the wrong way. It's all done in love because I have friends who work for the company. I can't really insult them that much. But no, I just want this to. I don't want anything to go wrong, like the last pay-per-view, because that really just killed the entire vibe of that card to me. And I want this to be a successful wrestling promotion.
Yeah, I do too. And that's the thing that, and you said it yourself, all this criticism true criticism is born out of love. We want AEW to succeed because we are all better off with an AEW out there than just one big ass promotion with no competition and no alternatives, no televised prime time weeknight alternatives. To be very clear. Can't thank you enough for joining me tonight, Jeff. I really appreciate it. We hadn't spoken in a while. It was good to talk to you again. Let everyone know where they can follow your stuff, what you got upcoming. Where can they find you?
You can follow my nonsense on Twitter at CrapGame13. I host a show called Shake Them Ropes on the Voices of Wrestling Network. At Shake Them Ropes, if you just want to follow the show, all I do is I retweet what the episodes are. I don't give opinions there. All my dumb opinions are on Crap Game 13.
They are.
I'm on the B team of backbenchers after putting in my time at Fightful, but occasionally I will pop in for pay-per-views when they need someone. I've aged out apparently, or something like. Maybe I'm a player coach now. Maybe I'm. No, I couldn't do the weekly SmackDown reviews anymore due to a new job at the time. But occasionally you'll find me on pay-per-view shows or when they need me to fill in. So keep your eyes and ears open, and then I pop in here and there when anybody needs me.
Such as me on a Friday evening to talk about Full Gear. I appreciate it so much, Jeff. And thank you everyone for watching us live. And if you're not watching us live, that's okay. Thank you again. Thank you for watching us on YouTube or listening on your favorite podcast application. Consider giving the video a thumbs up or a review wherever it is you're listening or watching to this. Hope everyone has a great rest of their Friday evening. Enjoy Full Gear. And see you next time.